So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to BWTM Sports. I have with me all the way from the States once again, B Livity. B, how are you doing?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me on again, man. Always a pleasure.
Pleasure. So, for people who don't know who you are, please do reintroduce yourself.
It's B Lively from the Movement Podcast. Also do Hoop Jab, writing for Hoop Jab, media coverage for them. I also have a separate broadcast with my boy Malachi Ben Yosef, The Final Bell. You can catch us on Fridays.
Tell viewers why they should check out these shows.
I mean, basically, just for insight into boxing, we do everything from news coverage to, breaking down fights, stylistically. We do the gamut.
Tell us what differs yourself to everybody else.
I guess just being around the sport all my life. My neighbor as a kid was James Heatman Kitchen. So I've been around the sport pretty much since I was a youth. Know the ins and outs, from media coverage. I've done everything except for promoting and training myself. So, I mean, I've just been around all gamuts of the boxing game for the most part.
What's been the best fight you've seen?
I had to say live, probably just because it was my first experience. Paul Vaden and Terry Norris. Terry Norris still happens to be one of my favorite fighters to this day. Okay. That's probably my favorite fight ever.
The most hyped you've been for a fight?
It didn't live up to expectations, but Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao.
The fighter you've wanted to see get beat the most because of their fans.
At the moment, it probably had to be Canelo Alvarez.
A fighter that lost the fight that made you want to cry afterwards.
Mike Tyson, Buster Douglas. That's one of them. I guess Terry Norris being knocked out by Julian Jackson is another one that made me cry.
My boy, my man, Julian Jackson, my brother. Sorry about that. The fight you wish you could have attended, but never happened.
That is a good one. Off the top of the head, I can't really think of one.
No? Okay. Crawford Spence, is that going to be hype, or is that actually going to be a real fight?
Oh, it's actually going down. Yeah, it's going to go down for sure. I have no doubts about it.
I'm hearing now people talking suddenly about Crawford being the smaller guy. He's the smaller guy. What are your thoughts on that? Don't do any previews for the fight, of course, because we want to save that till we get closer to it. But Crawford suddenly become the smaller guy.
He's fighting at middleweight, so can we really say that? He moved up to the division, so apparently, he's right where he's supposed to be. I know he came up from smaller weights or whatnot, but, guys weight cut to this day. So, I can't really throw that in as an excuse in anything. We've seen smaller guys move up in weight as well. So,
Shea Mosley moved up to Oscar De La Hoya, moved up twice from lightweight to welterweight and whooped his ass twice. That's a big example right there.
Yeah, Floyd Mayweather even came in under the junior welterweight or the junior middleweight limit to fight Oscar. So, I don't really deem that as an excuse or any reasoning, especially Crawford's been in the division for years now. He's acclimated to the weight. So, he has a background as a wrestler, so we know he has the strength at least. Yes. He's knocked people out at the end of the division, so none of that is valid to me.
Best promoter
of all time or at the moment?
At the moment.
At the moment, I'm probably still gonna have to go with Top Rank, Bob Arum. I think I would go with him still.
Okay. Most overrated promoter?
Eddie Hearn.
Oh, why? Surprise.
I think a lot of we don't see a lot of his fighters fight. You say you got to come stateside pretty much to make it big. Like some of the other UK fighters, and I think he's done a lot of keeping his fighters over in the UK for the most parts of their career. So for that reason, I'd say he's probably the most overrated.
Most underrated fighter in boxing at the moment.
I'm gonna go with one that people probably don't know of at the moment, and I don't think he's really a prospect. I think he's approaching championship level. I'm gonna go with Frank Martin from the Derrick James stable.
Okay, Frank Martin. Frank Martin sounds familiar.
Yeah, he fights at 135.
Okay, why?
Very accomplished amateur background. Very technically sound. I think he's going to make a lot of noise at 135. Even though there's a lot of names there now, and hopes for some of the bigger guys to move up, like Shakur Stevenson at 135. But I think he's gonna wreck some plans for a lot of people once he gets his name in there with the the top 10, the top 5s.
Most overrated fighter.
Had to go with Canelo again. It's not that I hate him, but I just think I don't have any hate against him, but I just think he's overrated. If I really break down and look at all of his fights, he's put on a pedestal I don't think he necessarily deserves overall.
Okay. If you could take promotion from one fighter and give it to another fighter, Xing out Canelo, who would it be?
Bud Crawford.
Ahead of Errol Spence.
Yeah, I think Errol's been built properly. He's doing sound numbers for this day and age for pay-per-view. I think he's been brought along right.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Name me a fighter today that's failed to deliver despite the hype.
Edwin Berlanga.
Oh,
Edgar Berlanga. Sorry
Edgar
about
Berlanga.
that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Edgar. He's a ticking time bomb. He is. It's coming.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And that chin.
Definitely agree.
Oh boy. Best managed fighter in the world, even if they've lost fights. Best managed fighter in the world.
I'm actually gonna have to go with the women on this one.
Okay.
Katy Taylor.
Wow. Oh, you say the most fortunate fighter in boxing? Would you say that?
I could say that as well too. But it all goes hand in hand.
Why do you think that is with Katy Taylor?
I think she's had she has an amateur success. I think she's gotten some decisions she probably doesn't necessarily deserve. I'm not going to speak on this past weekend's fight, but she's had a couple of shaky fights. So she's
the part-time police officer.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I still can't get over that fight. You're a part-time police officer, or a part-time boxer as a police officer takes time off work to come whoop your ass, and you're Olympic champion, and the best fighter in the world.
Yeah, she's had some questionable decisions. I can say that. But like I said, it goes hand in hand with the management. We don't know what's going on in the behind the scenes with some of these things.
Yeah.
But I think she's definitely her career has been carried the right way. Culminating in her doing what we've seen come out as 1.5 million views, which is spectacular for a women's belt.
Yeah.
On dazn, which is a streaming platform. So I could definitely say I think she's the best managed based upon that.
The dodgiest decision you've ever seen in boxing?
Oh man, that's easiest. Pernell and Julio Cesar Chavez.
Wow, yeah. Absolutely. A fight till this day that still upsets you when you talk about boxing?
That would be one of them that I just mentioned. Yeah, I've spoken on a couple of them. Buster Douglas, Mike Tyson. The ones that made me cry essentially are the ones I hate to talk about.
The sweetest victory from a fighter. Sweetest one you've gone, yeah, hold that one.
Oh wow. Probably had to go with Floyd and Oscar.
Okay. Most enjoyable unbeaten record getting smashed.
Yeah, I can't really say off top of the head.
Okay. Fighter that you just despise, no matter what they do, no matter how they fight, no matter what they do, no matter how good their record is, you just cannot stand just the sight of them.
Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua?
Those are two randoms. Why?
Tyson Fury, I think I think there's a lot of pudding behind some of the stuff he's done. I definitely think he's a great fighter, but I mean there's some holes and some things as far as how he's rated and people throwing him in there with the all-time greatest. It causes some concern for me. Anthony Joshua, I think had kind of like a manufactured character, and then I seen him try and switch up at times as well. So it's kind of made me question his authenticity.
Okay.
As a person in general.
A fighter that makes you want to switch off the TV every time they're talking.
Probably Tyson Fury again. And I just finally thought of the fighter that the most the happiest that I was about as far as the undefeated streak coming to an end, which is probably Gerald McClellan, even though it was under unfortunate circumstances. But that fight against Nigel Benn, I was a big Dark Destroyer fan, and seeing him take McClellan, yeah, that was definitely a highlight for me.
Fighter that's changed your opinion about them.
Bud Crawford. I did not like him at first. I actually attended his one of his first fights or big fights in Vegas against Bradis Prescott. I actually thought he lost that fight. The questions were out there for me for a long time until probably he got to 147. Like I questioned a lot of his career, prior to him going to 147.
Okay. Leif, good evening. Good to see you. Guys, who would be Livity like Canelo to fight next if he wins?
Depending on the weight class. I mean, of course, I like to see him in there against the Charlos, the Andrades, the Benavidez. But if he continues his path at 175, of course, Beast Bitter Beef. I've been clamoring for that one, but I think he's kind of timing him out. Bitter Beef is up there in age as well. A lot of amateur experience. I think he could have tried to push for that fight a whole lot harder, and his team has been back and forth on saying they want the fight. So I don't necessarily think they clamor for it. So I think they're kind of waiting them out, see what kind of damage he takes against Joe Smith in their upcoming fight. And I think they might reassess it based on, the outcome of that fight.
I would love to see Joe Smith fight Canelo, actually. I don't know why, but I think that would be a great fight.
Pretty interesting one.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean, the bigger he goes up, the bigger Canelo goes up, he's going to have to take more chances. With Joe Smith, I think he has a chin that could stand up. Bitter Beef has some questions about his chin, being that he's been down a couple times. Of course, it's been against some of the bigger punchers at 175. But, you hear guys like Frank Sanchez say Canelo hits hard as a heavyweight. I'd love to see it.
You like to see if that's true or not?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Mythical matchup.
One
mythical matchup. Prime for prime.
It'll probably end up in a bad, like a awful beatdown. But Tommy Hearns and Floyd Mayweather.
Which way?
I think Tommy Hearns will beat Floyd, of course. But I mean, I just love to see it tested. Tommy Hearns, was a great boxer. At 147, 6'2", right hand from hell.
Mm-hmm.
Just to see, what Floyd could do with that kind of height, reach, and boxing ability.
Mm-hmm. Most overrated trainer.
Freddie Roach.
Interesting. Most underrated trainer. Derek James. Go on, say it.
Yeah, definitely Derek James.
Okay.
He's built champions, and I don't think he gets the credit he deserves for the amount of guys that he's actually built from the ground up. And that's why I'm kind of a bigger fan of Frank Martin as well, just to see, like, if he gets Frank Martin, like, there should never be any question about him again. He has the possibility of having 2 undisputed fighters within a year.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's definitely changed Jermell Charlo's style a whole lot. Jermell used to be a classical boxer coming from the Ronnie Shields gym. And, he's been able to add facets to his game, even though I don't think Jermell's the most intelligent, fighter. But he's definitely added to the fighters in his stable.
Okay. Most impressive prospect.
Right now, probably I had to go with Xander Zayas. Like, I've been impressed with him other than one fight. But I mean, I think he's fixed a lot of the things that I had questions about recently.
Okay. Muhammad Ali's grandson. Yay or nay?
Nay.
Oh, wow. Why?
I mean, I'm not necessarily for the whole nepotism thing, but, it's a good promotional thing, promotional marketing aspect. But, he's in a division where once he gets up there, it's going to be some problems. He doesn't necessarily have the amateur background, and learning on the fly, I don't necessarily think that works, especially when you're getting in, with middleweights. You got guys coming up for 154 as well, possibly the 160. So, I mean, I think I say nay on him. I don't see him being a world champion or anything like that.
Okay. Biggest underachiever in boxing.
Oh, wow. There's plenty. I don't know if people might remember this one, but I would probably say like Panchito or let me see who else. Panchito would be one. Ricardo Williams, Rashid Warren, guys like that. I think that had very stellar amateur backgrounds that were expected to be takeovers when they turned pros. I think those are pretty big underachievers.
Would you put Riddick Bowe in that category?
No, I mean, he won the belt. I won't say he's an underachiever, but I say he left a lot on the table, especially ducking Lennox Lewis and throwing the belt in the trash the way he did, but I wouldn't consider him an underachiever.
Okay, so you think you did. I mean, if you think about the talent Bowe had, and if he controlled his diet and his weight, how well could Riddick Bowe have been? How good could Riddick Bowe have been?
I don't know if he ever beats Lennox Lewis. I can't say definitely he does. So, I mean, I think he reached what he was supposed to reach.
Rackman knocked out Lewis. McCall knocked out Lewis.
Yeah, I mean, a chin is a chin, but I mean, skill for skill. I mean, Lennox is a beast. He's one of my favorite heavyweights of all time. Even though he knocked out my childhood idol and Mike Tyson as well. I mean, I can't take away from him for that.
British fighter that came and saw and conquered, and you went, yeah, he's good. Apart from Lennox Lewis, because I don't consider him British, he's Canadian, and so you tell me.
I say Vladimir Klitschko. I think he accomplished a whole lot more than I expected, especially with some of the losses he had. I other guys. I think he could have been clipped a whole lot more times, but he actually held the belt for 10 years. That speaks a lot. I mean, the heavyweight era is what it is, but to have that kind of accomplishment, it stands for a lot. You know, a lot of guys he didn't get tested until later. You know, the ending stages as far as Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua beating him.
Hype jobs that actually delivered.
Good one. At the moment, I'll probably have to say Vasil's delivered. Vasil Lomachenko.
So you think he's a hype job?
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of guys that can take him out. You know, I think well, not take him out, but beat him. You know, I think Haney stands a good chance against him. I think guys like Shakur stand a good chance against him.
Interesting. So I guess you're picking Haney to beat Kambosos in Australia.
Definitely, yeah. I'm a believer. I'm a believer in skill. I believe in skill. I mean, people are going overboard as far as him being hurt against Jose Linares, who's a 3-division champion. He's always been a bigger puncher, you know. So I mean, I think people are kind of going too much off of that one circumstance with him being hurt. But he's pretty much won the majority of rounds against everybody he's been in. You know, that fight still wasn't close, even with him being hurt and staggered. There's questions about his chin, but until somebody gets put on the canvas or standing 8, I can't question the chin.
Okay. Question. Arslembek, I can't pronounce that guy's name. That guy, the heavyweight with the big head, looks like Valuev.
I've heard some minor things about him. I haven't had a chance to watch a lot of his tape, but I have been hearing peeps about him. Good thing. I've heard some good things about him, so I'll definitely have to go check some tape on him. But I've heard some good things about him. I just haven't been able to check him out yet. I mean, there's the heavyweight. There's a lot of people at heavyweight right now, but as far as up and comers, between the Tony Yokos and Joe Joyces and stuff like that. So I definitely had to look at some more of his tape.
Okay. Most perfect boxer trainer team up that never happened.
This one is probably going to go off the radar. So when I look at Jermell being with Derrick James, I honestly thought Jermall would be the one that would be with Derrick James stylistically, because he's been a bigger puncher of the twins. I always thought he would be with Derrick James over Jermell.
Okay. How do you think Jamal would have done with Derrick James?
A whole lot better, because his infighting skills aren't necessarily the best. I think it would improve a lot. That's one of the things I think he's missing from his game. We were able to see it against Dario Vinchico. Guys like Korobov have been able to get on the inside and make him feel uncomfortable. Right. So I think that definitely would have improved a lot under Derrick James.
Outside of Deontay Wilder, who's the biggest puncher in boxing?
Arthur Bitterby.
For pound.
Yeah, Bitterby. I got to go with Arthur.
Why?
I mean, I think everything's ended in a KO for him. I mean, perfect KO record. I got to go with Arthur.
Okay. Best light heavyweight in Britain. Watsy, Yard.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
And can any of them go on to be a world champion if you had to back one?
If I had to back one, it'd probably be Yard, just because he has the world championship experience as far as being there with Kovalev. I've never been big on Caleb Smith, but I mean, he's looking better at 175 under Buddy McGirt too. So I mean, it'd be out of those two.
What about Joshua Buatsi?
Buatsi, I think he needs a change up in trainers. Like I just see a lot of holes in his game. I do see the possibility.
Okay.
I do see some holes in his game, but I do see the power. I think he definitely has the fiber of being a champion, but I think he needs to switch up his team a little bit as far as getting a trainer from somebody else. I would love to see him switch up trainers. Honestly, if anybody, it would be him.
He went to Virgil Hunter for the switch up, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's not one I would. Yeah, I don't think that's a good one. I like Virgil. He's a good teacher, but I don't think as far as Boatsy's intangibles, I don't think Virgil is the one for him.
I think Derek James would be better for Boatsy.
Definitely. Him, Manny Robles, Robert Garcia. I mean, there's plenty of guys I would rather see him with than Virgil. Based on his power and skill set.
Okay. Right, let's get on. So the conversation tonight is, let's see, this is here. Favorite fighters for throwing right hand, left hook, and uppercut. For me, it's Floyd, Vlad, and Lennox. For you?
I definitely go with Floyd. We don't see a lot of fighters throwing the lead right. That's another thing. That's a lost art in boxing. You normally see it. Usually, guys pull it out against southpaws, but not too many people throw that combination, in my opinion. I think Floyd has definitely been the best at it. Marquez might be another one.
Okay. Best uppercut
of all time, Mike Tyson, of course. I want to punch his nose into his brain. Yeah, Mike Tyson.
What's the most ridiculous thing you've heard in boxing? Tell me.
I'm hearing a lot. I mean, of course, Mike Tyson's famous run against Lennox Lewis. Being wanting to eat Lennox Lewis's children in his heart.
I like when he said he broke his back. I broke my back. Spinal.
I mean, of course, some of the stuff we heard from Deontay Wilder's second fight against Fury. Yeah. Another one I'm hearing now is this one is just coming out recently. Canelo and Usyk. Those sound pretty ridiculous to me.
Oh dear. What are they saying? Canelo beats Usyk?
Yeah, he pretty much told Eddie Hearn recently that as long as it's within 1 pound of the cruiserweight limit, he'd beat Alexander Usyk, and I can't see that happening.
Oh wow. I think he'll try and do it as Usyk's older, try and pull him down in weight, drag him down.
Yeah, I can't see it happening. I mean, maybe Canelo's done too much sparring with Frank Martin in their stable. But yeah, I just can't see it happening.
Best press conference?
I'd probably have to say Riddick Bowe and Larry Donald.
That's not bad. What about Riddick Bowe and Gonzalez?
Oh, that was a good one. That was definitely a good one based on their history. I could say that. Another one, Ricardo Mayorga and Shane Mosley.
Yes. I like not a press conference, but like one fighter going past another. Lennox Lewis, Riddick Bowe. It's still my favorite. It's my all-time favorite. Do it, man. You ain't doing shit. I never come off my feet. You need help from the ref.
Oh yeah.
You bum.
David Hay and Derek Chisora. That's another one. that definitely falls on my top 5.
Funniest statement you've heard one fighter tell another fighter.
Once again, I'll probably have to go to Mike Tyson. As far as his statements against Lennox Lewis, he went on a whole soliloquy on that one. It was pretty funny, and I still use it to this day. It's still funny to me to this day.
Oh man, most iconic line from a boxer. My Ali would have been I am the greatest.
Definitely Ali. Sting like a butter. What was it?
Sting
like a bee. Yeah, yeah.
What about Anthony Joshua? It was so nice. I had to do it twice. Like when he said it, I was like, no. He must have rehearsed that about. You can see him in the mirror rehearsing it.
Yeah.
Rehearsing it.
Yeah. He definitely pulled that out the bag.
Any other lines you've heard?
Not that I can recall off top of head.
Boxers that try to sound more intelligent than they actually are.
You got Floyd, you got Tyson. I mean, there's been many of them.
Floyd. Yeah, no, Floyd. So you say Floyd sounds more intelligent than he actually is?
Yeah. I mean, he's come a long way as far as him being able to be vocal with the media. But he definitely puts a spin on it.
Words that have come back to bite a boxer hard.
Anytime you say you're gonna knock somebody out, and you don't, or you take a L, for example, Josue Vargas against Zepeda, he sold a whole lot of wolf tickets in the build up to that fight. Of course, Puerto Rico versus Mexico, and he got smashed in the first round. So,
oh God, that's not good. First round, that's not good. I like Bernard Hopkins. I will never let a white boy beat me.
And then loses to Kawasaki. Definitely.
He lost to Kawasaki and got knocked out the ring by Joe Smith Jr.
Yeah,
and got beat by Kovalev as well.
You definitely got me with that one. Yeah, and we have three examples. Every
time I look at Bernard, he talks so much sense. But then in the background, there's this, when he's talking, I'm hearing, I will never let a white boy beat me. It's there. He's talking. And it's like, yes, I know Bernard's, he's very sensible. He talks sense. He's very knowledgeable at the game. Yeah. And then in the background, I'm hearing that comment and seeing him get knocked through the ropes by Joe Smith.
Yeah, and he's definitely become more of a company man now since he's been, part of Golden Boy management. So I can't take a lot of what he says serious. Yeah.
Most outrageous statement in terms of promoting a boxer.
I can't even speak on that one.
I'll tell you who's up there. Abel Sanchez. He was definitely up there with Gennady Golovkin. Some of the stories I heard about Gennady Golovkin were out of this world. They were legendary.
As far as punching the flakes off the ceiling and stuff like that, yeah. I mean, but I've heard this from other boxers too. So I mean, that's kind of why I can't really necessarily say him. Like I've heard it from other boxers and that have trained with him.
Who of elite level has Golovkin knocked out?
Well, I mean, it goes back to say the 160 division hasn't necessarily been. I mean, I think the 160 division has been weak for a while since since the days of James Toney and Roy Jones. Honestly, I think it's been one of the weaker divisions. That's why I always hope for the guys at 154 to go up and make a statement. I hope for guys like possibly Errol Spence, even though he says 154, he says he could go up to 160. I mean, I hope guys like that actually go up. But I mean, 160 hasn't necessarily been great since Roy Jones and James Toney were in the division. Michael Nunn, like it hasn't been a great division. I think B-Hop had a lot of easy competition while he was at 160, which is why he had a long reigning record, prior to Gennady.
Most devastating knockout that made you become a fan of a boxer.
Oh wow. Okay, so I mean, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this being in the UK, but they used to have USA Boxing Tuesday night fights.
Yes.
I was a huge fan of James Thunder after knocking out I can't think of his name, is Rocky something. But I mean, it was like probably one of the fastest knockouts ever in boxing history. Like it might have been like it was like the first punch he threw and it was over. But I was always a big fan of James Thunder based on that, even though he didn't accomplish much as a heavyweight. But I definitely became a fan of his based off of that.
For me, the one knockout that I saw that changed my got me into a fighter was Michael Nunn versus Sambu Colombe.
Okay. Definitely a good one.
Sambu Colombe is out.
Yeah, definitely a good one. Colombe is definitely that's a good one.
He was legit, Colombe. First round, hit him with the left hand, bang.
But was middleweight his natural division too? Is that another one? Because I think he might have been at 154.
No, he was a natural middleweight because he fought Steve Collins, didn't he? He beat Steve Collins. He beat Samuel Collins, beat Harold Grave, and he beat Steve Collins.
Yeah, and he beat Mike. I think he beat McCallum as well.
Yeah. McCallum's
McCallum's one of my McCallum's one of my favorite fighters of all time. Yeah, one of the greatest junior middleweights ever, in my opinion.
Another fight that I really exciting, Nigel Benn, when he fought Barkley. Iran Barkley.
Okay, so Barkley is a guy I consider an overachiever. So I mean, I think he's an overachiever. I can't put much on that one. I mean, I think Nigel Benn was always a better prospect, skill for skill than Barkley. I think Barkley was just over. Yeah, I think Barkley was an overachiever. Definitely an overachiever.
Barkley went up to light heavyweight afterwards, didn't he? But he could never beat Thomas Hearns.
And he beat Thomas Hearns, yeah. But I mean, skill for skill, he was just a guy that was going to bring his all, and he was going to make you fight. I consider him an overachiever.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, he's my guy. I definitely like him, but I think he was an overachiever.
Okay, William Joppy.
Not sure to make it that one. I'm not sure what to make of that one. Like I said, it was a weak 160 era. So I mean, for him to be a titleist in that era, I don't think it was outside of reach. But every time he stepped up to what we consider elite, we see how he looked.
Okay. Boxer who turned you from hater to fan mid-fight.
Can't say I have one. It usually takes me a string of fights to do that. Like I'm not a guy that goes off of one fight. It takes a string of fights for me to start necessarily clinging on to a fighter.
I have like a way of assessing a fighter's like if I'm gonna back a fighter. So I might like a fighter, but I fall in love with a fighter. It could be like a pivotal round of a fight. For me, I liked Holyfield. But for me, the pivotal round for me is when he fought against Burt Cooper and he was out on his feet in the third round. You remember it? Cooper caught him a shot and he was all over the place. And Cooper was landing all punches on the Holyfield. And the Holyfield come out of nowhere, hit him with an uppercut and started throwing combinations back. I thought, yeah, this guy's got heart. So that was Holyfield. Then it was Lennox Lewis. And I like Lewis, but I had question marks. He fought Tony Tucker. 8th round, Tucker catches him with a good shot, backs him up against the ropes. Tucker's throwing a flurry of punches. Lewis is catching, pushes Tucker off, and then hits him. I
could have never questioned Holyfield's heart. Even when he was at Cruiser, I can't think of the fight it was, but he definitely had some battles there. Yeah. So I mean, he's always had that heart.
But at heavyweight, it's different at cruiserweight. When you're at heavyweight, you get hit with a shot. It's different. Obviously, because bigger guys and stuff like that. And Cooper hit him with a shot. And that, if you think about it, that was Holyfield's homecoming. He just won the undisputed title off James Buster Douglas. And he was coming home in his first fight at home in Atlanta, Georgia. And Burt Cooper comes in. I think it was maybe it's 20, 25 to 1 underdog or something like that,
yeah.
50 to 1 underdog. And he comes in, and Holyfield's beat the crap out of him for the first 2 rounds, looking super sharp, on top, everything's going nice. Comes out for the photo, boom, 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 boom. You're like, yeah, Holyfield's got this fight in the bag, no problems. Next thing, he's reeling across the ring, and he's getting an 8 count stand. Right? I'm like, what's going on here? You're like, oh no.
I mean, I think that's definitely an error in heavyweight boxing that gets underlooked. And I mean, it's sad because a lot of those guys were, under the influence of cocaine. Burt Cooper, Tony Tubbs. They had some very skilled boxers. Tony Tubbs, they consider him a fat guy, but he could fight his ass off. It's definitely an error in heavyweight boxing that goes overlooked, or it doesn't get the proper credit. Which has kind of led to what people say. But I hear some of the things that people say about Mike Tyson's reign at heavyweight because of that. But I think it was a great era in heavyweight boxing, probably the last great outside of course when Lennox and Holy took over. After Tyson.
Where were you the night that right hand landed on Michael Moore's chin from George Foreman?
I was watching it on a black box in my house because we had illegal cable. So
I was watching it as well. They were playing it, and the song was "Some Like It Hot." I remember them playing the song for the intro, and I put money on Foreman to beat Mora, and like the fight going. Yeah, I put money because I knew that Foreman had the power, and Mora goes to sleep, and he doesn't have the greatest chin. So if Foreman could
I don't think Mora was in the greatest shape as a heavyweight. I liked him a lot more as light heavyweight than I did at heavyweight.
Why, when people talk about light heavyweight boxing, they forget Michael Mora? He was a beast.
I have no clue. He was a beast. Yeah, he was a beast at light heavyweight. I liked him a lot there compared to heavyweight. So
why do you think it is that they don't talk about him at light heavyweight as a puncher? Well, he was
honestly because it's a division that's overlooked, just like cruisers. You got to think. A lot of the split up in weights, it gets overlooked. You got middleweights, then you got 168, and then after that, 175 and 190 kind of get overlooked because of the heavyweights. So I think a lot of it has to do with that, especially with the distance between light heavyweight and cruiser. I think that's been the biggest issue with it, is that people overlook those two divisions until, at least cruiserweight most recently.
Most genuine, bitter grudge match.
I'd have to say Floyd Mayweather and Zab Judah for me.
Really?
Yeah. Because they were friends at first and then became foes, and now they're friends again. So I was kind of bitter to see them get in the ring together. But they have some differences to settle, and it turned out how it turned out.
Barrera Morales.
That's another one that's up there. But I think those two definitely despise each other. But they were friends. Yeah, they definitely despise each other. Yeah.
Ben Eubank.
I can't. No, I don't think it was necessarily a bitter dislike. I can't see Chris Eubank really disliking anyone. I just think that was part of his persona and his character.
Ben hated Eubank. Oh, he hated him. He really hated him.
Okay. You'd have better insight. You'd have better insight than me. I've always thought Chris Eubank was a good dude. I just think he did a lot of shit for show as well.
What needs to you need a chance after this. Check out YouTube midweek sports special. Eubank and Ben signing their contract live on TV. It's very few times I've seen boxers sign contracts live on TV, but they don't like one. They didn't like one another. The fight that night, the intensity that night was one I will never forget. Moments in boxing that came and left. They came and left like a door opened and shut within a couple of seconds. Like opportunity for a guy to become a world champion. Open and shut within a moment of seconds.
I can't. I don't know if I can really put this one in there. But what comes into mind when you say that is probably David Reed and Felix Trinidad.
Okay. Go ahead.
Probably that one.
What happened?
I mean, David Reed, he was probably
Olympic.
he was an Olympic gold medalist.
Yep.
He had some issues as
Rushed.
far as the eye issue. Yeah, he was rushed. But I definitely, despite that, I had high hopes for him. Philly fighter, definitely skilled. But that's definitely one that comes to mind is him. Is him and Felix Trinidad. His opportunity was lost from there, never recovered. Never recovered from that. And went on a string of losses.
Yeah. I'm going to talk about one fight. And it's always in my head. Frank Bruno, Mike Tyson, the first fight. Bruno gets dropped by Tyson early. He gets up. Tyson's all over him. And then in a combination of punches, Bruno misses one and then with a left and hits Tyson with a right or left or right combination, left or right, whichever much it is. And he buckles Tyson for a couple of seconds. At that point in time, when he had Tyson back against the ropes and he had him stunned, that was Bruno's opportunity right there to become heavyweight champion of the world. That moment there.
Okay, yeah, definitely a good one. Yeah.
That moment right there. Because at that point, Tyson was destroying everybody. And that was the first time I saw him properly buckled, apart from when he fought Bum Crusher Smith at the end of the fight.
Yeah.
Bum Crusher Smith got him a good right hand. Other than that, that was the first time I'd seen him really hurt Tyson. He looked human at that point.
Yeah.
So
definitely a good one.
Any others?
Not that I could think of. I mean, it's hard when we know with the boxing history, we know it's kind of hard to pull something off the top. I'm especially I'm going back to stuff from my childhood. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely hard to say some of these.
Okay, all right. So let's talk a little bit about Bivol versus Canelo. Your thoughts?
This is a fight that's speaking from the state side, it's not getting much attention. Canelo hasn't done much to help because he's talking about everything but his own fight recently in social media and in interviews. He's at Oscar Valdez's fight and everything, and he's been on social media talking about UFC fighters. So, it's not getting much attention. Last I checked, there was a lot of tickets available. But, it's one of those fights because of what I've been seeing Canelo do as far as his appearances, interviews, and everything else with social media. I think he might be overlooking Bivol, and it's kind of got me starting to favor Bivol a little bit more in this fight.
I've always said I've always thought that Bivol was the best light heavyweight in the world. He's fought everyone but Beterbiev, if I'm correct. He's fought Joe Smith.
Yeah, and he hasn't had any questionable decisions. Like he's handily beat everybody. He's handily beat everybody put in front of him. Isaac Chilemba, people don't think highly of him. He's kind of like he's kind of like the Gabriel Rosado of that division. He gives everybody a tough ass fight. Like there's no easy cakewalks with him. And Bivol pretty much handled him as cleanly as I've seen anybody ever do while he was in his prime.
Right, and I think Bivol's jab could give Canelo problems, a lot of problems.
Yeah, the jab, the movement, the speed. He has good footwork for a Russian fighter. I've been trying to draw parallels to the Kovalev fight, to where I don't think Canelo did much until the knockout. And that was a Kovalev that didn't even let his right hand go. Bivol's going to let those things. Yeah, Bivol's going to let those things go. Yeah, but Bivol's going to let those things go. So I think I'm actually starting to favor Bivol a lot more because I think Canelo isn't necessarily focused.
Looking at these guys, I think Canelo hasn't had his way in this fight. For this fight. I don't think in negotiations he's had his own way. I think Bivol's been a bit smarter. And also, I think because the one thing that I'm just worried about with Bivol is that he made a statement years ago he could come down and fight at super middleweight. Do you remember that? He could fight super middleweight. I hope.
Yeah, and
that
I think he is. I think he is smaller for 175. You look at Arthur. He's pretty. He's built.
Yeah.
I think Joe Smith as well. Like I know he
Yeah.
couldn't cut the 168 looking at him. But
Yeah.
looking at Bivol's stature, he is a guy that's. I think he is small for the weight class, but I mean I don't think it's going to necessarily come into play in this fight either.
I don't. I just the only thing is I'm just worried about him cutting weight. Cutting weight and then being weakened. So when Canelo goes to his body, is a problem. That's my only concern.
Yeah. And I mean another thing is Bivol's kind of been known as a headhunter. He doesn't do a lot of body work. One of those things that you mentioned in our previous segments together is you like to see the double jab up top to the body. I mean, I hope that's one of the things he's incorporated for Canelo to keep him honest in that bay. So I mean, that's one thing I would like to see him add is to do some more body work against Canelo. But I think Bivol has a very great chance at winning. The only thing is being in Vegas. The disdain for Russia at the moment. You never know. Canelo have gotten some questionable decisions already. But I think Bivol is definitely more than a live dog in this fight.
I think he is. I would say he is the best fighter that Canelo's fought since Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah, skill for skill, definitely. I mean, good ring generalship, footwork is good, better than you see with most Russian fighters. He's definitely not stiff. He's not going to stand there. So I definitely like his chances.
So do I. I mean, I'm going with Bivol. Once the fight was announced, I was going for Bivol.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm concerned about is how he's made the weight. How has he made the weight?
It's at 175, right?
Yeah, but still, how did he make the weight? Like, has he had problems making weight? Is that the reason why Canelo's going after him now?
No, I don't think that. I think that was the easier name to get. I think there's still some fear with them going after Bittervieve directly because of the power and size. I think they have fear of that. Bittervieve has a high work rate. He's a dog. It's going to be a dog fight. Canelo is a great counter puncher, but we've seen guys that were boxers. We've seen Arthur go after them. We've seen Gavacic. The fight against Gavacic, he broke his will. And I think those kind of things strike fear with Canelo.
Eddie Hearn talking about if Canelo wins this fight, he would fight maybe Joshua Buatsi in the autumn.
I don't really like it.
I don't
like it at all. Buatsi's had some questionable fights. I definitely think he still needs some marinating in development. Even when he came out of the Olympics, he was still a very raw talent. But people hyped him based off of him knocking everybody out while in the Olympics. So I mean, he's still going off of that. But I think he's still very raw, in my opinion.
Defensive, irresponsible, I say.
Yeah, and I mean, I just don't think he puts his punches together right still for his skill set. That's why I said before, I wish he would go with another trainer because I think that he's kind of stalled and stagnated in his career as far as development. And like I haven't seen it even against he lost. That was Anthony Yard, my bad. But I think even a guy like what's the guy that beat Yard?
Kovalev.
No, not Kovalev, the other guy.
Arthur.
Arthur. I think those guys could give. I think he would give Buatsi trouble even at this stage.
Yeah. Anthony Yard versus Canelo. How does that go?
I would probably favor Canelo, but just more or less because of Anthony Yard's too damn muscular, man. I don't think he'll ever be able to guy that could go a good 12. Just because of that, too muscular. But I definitely think he has a skill set. But I would favor Canelo.
Okay. Just a short one. Not Joe Rogan. What's his name again? The guy who does UFC now. I've just lost his name. Not Joe Rogan. What's his name? The guy does UFC. The guy, what's his name?
It's
again?
not a Ariel Helwani.
No, is it Joe Rogan? The guy who owns UFC.
Dana
Dana White. That's it. Dana
Yeah.
White says that boxers get paid too much money. Your thoughts?
Not at all. You know, Dana gets paid better than his fighters. That's why he's saying that shit. Connor's the only guy that's made real money. Connor's the only guy that's made real money with him. So it's easy for him to say. I kind of like the model that's in play now with boxing, where the fighters are taking a risk. Why not? Why shouldn't they get the bigger reward?
Eddie Hearn says he's following the model of Dana White for boxing. Your thoughts?
He's not doing a good job at it if that's the case, because Dana's in control of every damn thing, matchmaking, all that. You know, you can't get out of a fight with Dana. You can still do that in boxing. Of course, there's all the different organizations or whatnot, but Dana's pretty much a dictator in all this. I guess going back to be overpaid, I think some of it is true as well. Like, you know, there's something in the news now as far as this offer that was made to Canelo for Charlo, Spence, or Benavidez, and Canelo was able to opt for Bivol and a third Triple G fight that he's put off for 3 years, for almost 4 years. So I think some of these fights, some fighters may make a little bit too much, but who's to say who's too much if they're bringing in pay-per-view revenue? Based on the pay-per-view model, there is nobody being overpaid, in my opinion.
Okay. And finally, Dillian White bumped into Anthony Joshua, or AJ. So he bumped AJ. You win your fight, Usyk, and I've got to win my fight, and I want my rematch with you. Your thoughts? Joshua White too.
To me, I think AJ's a little bit shell shocked. Like, you can see it in his facial expressions anytime he gets punched to the face. So I mean, I think this time around, I think he probably would be a little bit more mindful against Dillian White, and I would give Dillian White a better chance in this fight than the first one. Okay. And you know, he had Joshua out on his feet essentially.
Yep. Joseph Parker, Joe Joyce.
I'm probably one of the few people that like Juggernaut. I don't know why everybody says he's slow. Yeah, everybody says he's slow as hell, but I mean, I've fought Samoans. You better bring your lunch with you, you know. And with his pace, it may be slow and methodical as hell. Joe, there's not going to be an easy fight with anybody going against Joe Joyce. Nobody. I'm actually a huge fan of his personally.
So am I. I believe he'll become heavyweight champion of the world.
Yeah, I mean,
Joseph Parker's going to know about it.
Yeah, he's really going to have to come with it. And I mean, I know he's been training with Tyson Fury and Sugar Hill, but I just think Joe Joyce is going to overwhelm him. You know, Derek Chisora was able to pressure him. Dillian White was able to pressure him. Joe Joyce is better at that than both of them. You know, he's definitely better with it. He's better with his footwork coming from his rugby background.
Absolutely.
So I mean, I think Juggernaut is probably gonna knock him out.
Who else? Stacey McKinley says that Larry Holmes has been watching the way that Trevor Bryant's been training, and he likes the way Trevor Bryant's preparing for Daniel Dubois. Your thoughts? Say that one more time. Daniel Dubois, Trevor Bryant. Your thoughts?
I'm not big on that. See, I should have probably came back to this earlier. I'm glad you mentioned his name, but I'm not big on Daniel Dubois either. You know, I mean, he's lived off of sparring wars essentially to build his name, and you know, we've seen him when he was pushed up there against the upper talent, and you know, he got his eye socket broken. I just don't think much of him, and you know how he's been thrust into this championship position already based on how bad he lost. That doesn't sit. It hasn't sat well with me at all ever.
So how do you think Trevor Bryant's going to take the fight? I mean, Uncle Bashir says if Brian fights the way he fought that last guy, he'll get knocked out.
I could agree. Not to take it. Dubois definitely still talented. He's still a big puncher. So I definitely could understand that sentiment.
Is he a big puncher? Is he a big puncher? I mean, he's a big dude, but is he a big puncher? Like, is he a world-class puncher? You know, these guys that fought guys that want to fall over.
No. I mean, heavyweights, anything could change with one punch with them. So I mean, you have to always expect that with heavyweights.
I just feel with Dubois, if you push him back and throw punches back at him, he don't want to know. That's what I feel.
Yeah.
And he'll look for a way out. Well, if he gets hit in the face around the eye region again, then we'll see if you really.
Yeah, I mean that like I said, one punch can change the fight. You know, even we seen it with Spence and Ugas, one uppercut. Yeah. You know that eye socket was gone. So I mean, it could be a repeat. You know, it's supposed to be in a better position now with it being reinforced, but these guys don't necessarily want to get hit either.
Okay. B, do you have anything you want to say before we close off today?
No, man, it's just been great being back on, man. We definitely went through a lot more. I wasn't necessarily prepared for some of these questions. So, I mean,
but I've got to say to you, it was completely random because I didn't plan it. I honestly didn't plan it. It was a random.
I'm glad we did it, though, because it definitely made me think on the spot as far as, thinking about the history of boxing from what I know. So, I mean, I was happy we did it. It just caught me off guard. And, I wish I would have had answers for some of them.
That's okay. Next time. There's always next time. B, as always, once again, let people know where they can catch you and where they can subscribe to you and all the rest of the good stuff.
Yes, you can catch me on the Final Bill podcast through Danger Zone Boxing Talk on YouTube. Also, hoopjab.com, still writing for them. And, I'm active on social media as well, on Twitter, Facebook. I'm in all the groups. So, I mean, you can catch me, B Livity.
Last question. Favorite personality in boxing?
Hector, all time Hector Macho Camacho.
And now, and today?
Today, I can't say I really have any. There's nobody, none of their personalities really spark my interest like that to where I need to listen to every interview they do. None of them.
Okay. There's a fight coming up. Yeah, and this fight reminds me of a Mortal Kombat. They should call it Mortal Kombat Fatality. Rolly versus Tank Davis. You should have fatality next week. Fatality.
So somebody's getting knocked out. Rolly banks on his power. He definitely comes to fight. I definitely think he's going to push he's definitely going to push. He's going to push the pace against. He has no choice but to push the pace against Tank to win. Tank can beat him from the outside, boxing him, and making him rush in and catch mistakes.
He's wide open for an uppercut.
Yeah, exactly.
Wide open.
Exactly. So I mean,
but he only to get knocked out. Flat.
Yeah, he only has one chance, and that's to try and push the pace. Though I mean, he's not going to outbox Tank, so he's going to have to force a physical fight. And I think it's going to end in an uppercut, or overhand left. That's Tank's forte. Uppercut or overhand left. It is definitely going to end.
Finish him.
But we'll be able to see Tank's chin as well. Rolly could definitely punch. Nobody's ever denied that from the people that have been in with him. But I think he's good. He's definitely getting decapitated in that one. Hey, we on the Mortal Kombat. We on the Mortal Kombat.
Absolutely. Finish him. Fatality.
Flawless victory.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what you're expecting. If Tank is that level, you expect it.
Yeah.
That's similar to like how he did to Santa Cruz.
I can see it on that. I could definitely see it ending on that note. Definitely. Definitely.
Rolly throwing a combination, bomb straight out the middle.
Getting caught right in the middle. Yep.
Yeah. Hold that one. Good night. Wow. B, as always, thank you so much for being on BWTM Sports. And thank you to everybody that's tuned in. And we'll see you soon.
Peace.
Take care, champ.